The rain was coming, down so hard that morning it felt like the sky itself had cracked, open and started to weep. Inside a little diner on the edge of town, the windows shook with every gust of wind. Only one man sat at the counter. Rowan Hale, 35, single father, warehouse nights still clinging to his tired shoulders. In front of him was the first real breakfast he'd been able to afford in weeks. 2 eggs, crispy hash browns, and a thick bacon sandwich that smelled like hope. $7.82. Every last coin he had until Friday. He lifted the sandwich, ready to finally taste something warm, when the bell above the door gave a weak, shivering ring. A young woman stumbled inside, soaked through, trembling so hard her teeth chattered. Long blonde hair stuck flat against her face, rainwater dripping from the ends of her tight ponytail. Her red dress clung to her like it had been painted on. Once bright, now dark and heavy now. She didn't speak at first. She just stood there, arms wrapped around herself, eyes wide and hollow. Then, in the smallest voice you've ever heard, she whispered, Can someone please help me?" The waitress froze with the coffee pot in her hand. A trucker in the corner looked down at his plate. Rowan felt his heart twist the same way it did when his daughter, Mia, cried in her sleep. He stood up without thinking, walked over, and gently placed the warm plate in the woman's shaking hands. "Here," he said softly. "You need this more than I do today." She looked at the sandwich like it was something holy. Then she slid down the wall and sat right there on the checkered floor, eating in tiny, careful bites while tears rolled silently down her cheeks and mixed with the rain. Rowan pulled a chair close and just sat with her, quiet. The way you sit with someone who's been hurt too much to talk yet. When the plate was empty, she finally looked up. "My name's Ara," she whispered. That was all. No last name. No explanation. Just Ara. Rowan didn't ask questions. He knew what it felt like to carry pain that words couldn't hold. He'd known it ever since. Mia's mom passed and left him raising a little girl on a paycheck that never stretched far enough. So he gave Ara his old denim jacket. Even though the diner suddenly felt colder on his own arms, he pressed the last few dollars from his pocket into her hand for coffee later, even though it meant another night of plain rice for him and Mia. When the rain slowed to a drizzle, Ara stood, looked at him once with eyes full of something unspoken, and walked back out into the gray. Rowan thought that was the end of the story, a quiet moment of kindness on a stormy morning. He went back to long shifts, tight budgets, and tucking Mia in under a roof that still leaked when the wind blew wrong. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived. Cream envelope, gold lettering, the kind that makes your stomach drop before you even open it. Inside were just a few lines. "Mr. Rowan Hale is requested at the offices of Vincent and Alder regarding a personal matter involving Miss Ara Vincent." His hands shook as he read it. Lawyers, debt collectors, police. Every worst fear flashed through his mind. But something deeper than fear, something that felt almost like responsibility, made him get on the bus the next morning. He had to know she was safe. The law firm was all glass and silence, a world away from his patched jeans and scuffed boots. They led him to a quiet conference room that looked out over the city like it belonged to someone else's life. 2 attorneys waited with a thick folder and gentle voices. "Mr. Hale," the older one began, "Miss Vincent is safe now, thanks almost entirely to you." Rowan let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding for weeks. "But why am I here?" They slid a photograph across the table. It showed Ara, smiling, radiant, standing outside a famous New York gallery, blonde hair perfect, red dress elegant and dry, nothing like the broken woman on the diner floor. Ara Vincent is an award-winning photographer, and the only heir to a family foundation, they explained quietly. She suffered terrible trauma. Someone she trusted tried to take everything, her work, her name, her safety. She ran, refused protection, refused money, wanted to disappear completely. For weeks she had nothing, no phone, no wallet, no hope, until the morning a stranger gave her the only meal he had. Rowan's throat closed. The younger attorney continued, voice soft. "She told us he gave me food when I felt invisible. He looked at me like I was still a person. So I want to give him back the future he deserves." They opened the folder. Inside were papers creating a trust in Rowan and Mia's names, safe housing, childcare, school fees, and 3 full years of living expenses so Rowan could finally train for the drafting career he'd once dreamed of but never dared not chase. Rowan stared, tears slipping down without permission. "I didn't do anything special," he whispered. The older attorney smiled. You reminded a dying soul that kindness still exists. Sometimes that's the greatest miracle of all. He walked out into sunlight that felt warmer than any day in years. The folder in his hands felt lighter, then air and heavier, than the world at the same time. In the months that followed, everything changed quietly, beautifully. Rowan and Mia moved into an apartment where the heat worked and the windows didn't rattle. Mia started dance classes and laughed louder than ever. Rowan began his drafting program with straight A's and a heart on fire. Every so often he'd go back to that same diner, order 2 coffees, and sit by the window just in case. He never saw Ara again. But every morning when he woke up without the old fear in his chest, he felt her gratitude like sunlight on his face. Because one rainy morning all he did was share a $7 sandwich, and the universe decided to pay it forward in ways only heaven could plan. If this story warmed your heart the way it warmed mine, please hit that like button, leave a comment with the last time you gave away your sandwich, and share this video with someone who needs reminding that kindness always finds its way home. Because sometimes the smallest act of compassion doesn't just feed a hungry stranger. It plants a seed that grows into a whole new life for both of you. Thank you for watching, beautiful friend. I'll see you in the next story.